Hello and welcome to another video. This will be a special video as I will be doing a special report on the Kreminna front. I have chosen to do this because I believe that the Kreminna front has so far been largely unseen. So I have collected a lot of videos about the fighting that has happened for the past 4 months, from the start of November all the way to today, and it is still an ongoing battle with little to no frontline changes. I believe it has gone largely unnoticed because neither side is making significant advances, unlike in the Bakhmut front, where the Russian forces are advancing slowly, but they are definitely advancing and are almost completely taking the city now. Compared to that, Kreminna has been very static, with no significant changes. There have been some online Twitter offensives where suddenly Kreminna has been taken multiple times. However, the Russian forces are still holding on to Kreminna as well as Dibrovo, while the Ukrainian forces are holding on to the river line to the west of Kreminna. This all leaves me to believe that although the front line hasn't changed, the soldiers are still fighting there. So I thought, okay, how exactly are they fighting? What is the situation and all of that? And I can tell you as a conclusion early on in this video, I had to filter out a lot of videos because that would 100% not just get me demonetized, but also banned from YouTube. But also because of how insane the battle is. It is very, very tough. And I believe it would match up to, if not surpass, the Meatgrinder that is Bakhmut. Now, let's take a quick look at it and see exactly what is going on in this battle. We can see here on the first video, it's a video of some artillery strikes on some positions. I'm not going to say who is on whose side in these videos. If you can tell, then good on you. But I do this as I'm neutral and I don't want to glorify or put any thought into what is actually happening, but only cover it. Anyways, I am Weeb Union. Thank you for coming to this video, and I hope you all learned something from this. And let's get right into the video. This second video shows some anti-air defense system working in the front line as they shoot down some drones as well as helicopters and so on. As for this one, we see a burning vehicle as one of the sides have destroyed one using artillery. And I'll continue looking at some of these videos, then I'll cover some thoughts on the map of this front line and how it has changed and how it hasn't changed. And then we'll get into some more videos and that'll be it. As for this video, I cut off some parts that were too graphic, but essentially this is some video footage of a drone flying around in the forests of the Kreminna front and searching for the opponent's units, and then they launch artillery strikes on all of those areas. So in this part of the front line, there's actually a large usage of drones, as it is a mainly artillery focused, as well as some head-on battles, as the field itself is very open. There's the forest lines, but that's about it. Everything else, there's no settlements, there's no cities, any of that, there's none of that there. There's only these forests for cover, and these drones just find them despite the trees for cover. So it is essentially an open field where the drones find targets and the artillery shoot them. Now, in this upcoming video, there is footage of a tank doing some combat missions here in the Svatove Kreminna front, specifically in the Kreminna area. We see here that the field is frozen, which allows this tank to move around. It starts out doing some reversal, and there's a lot of soldiers there on the side of the road by the forest line. And we essentially see it move around and doing some combat missions, being the spearhead for these advances and fighting next to the forest line here in the cover, and then it advances out on the field to start shooting at the opponent's positions. But essentially, I want to use this very long video, which is about 5 minutes long, to talk about the maps in this front line. So I'll be starting out with this picture of the front line. This was back at the start of November, and essentially what we see here is that once the Kharkiv offensive was over, the Ukrainians took control over the Oskil River as well as Liman, and then they fought next to the next river line to the east of Liman, and now their target was Kreminna. So how and why would they take Kreminna? Kreminna was a very significant supply point. We can see that it is a city which is connected in the Svatove-Kreminna line, and it is one that received a lot of supplies from the eastern area in the Luhansk region. It is also what could be called the gateway to Luhansk. The Russian forces, after their offensives, managed to capture the whole Luhansk region. And now the fighting has returned to Luhansk region here at the start of November, and the Ukrainian forces were all still in high morale, thinking that this would just be another part of the Kharkiv offensive, where they would just go inside of Luhansk and they will start controlling these areas. However, since then we see this video footage here. We see this video footage here of a time lapse of the front line, how it changed through the start of November to the date today. Essentially, as a conclusion to this timeline, there has been no significant changes. Not a single village has changed hands since then. There's been a lot of back and forth within these fields. We can see here the tank is moving into this field, shooting at opponent positions. There's a lot of explosions of both artillery and tank shells. There's a lot of small arms fire, sniper fire. And all of this is happening in these open fields where you can see that there are these minute changes to the front line. However, with these minute changes of the front line comes huge casualties on both sides, especially with all of the forest fighting that happens in the south, as both sides are fighting head on with little to no cover and changes. Now we see that I have created a screenshot over the start and the end of the time lapse, where we see here exactly how little it has changed throughout 3 to 4 months of fighting. And it is honestly incomprehensible that so many soldiers can fight in this area and achieve no significant changes. However, this is part of warfare. At some point, the soldiers of both sides are just going to continue fighting, and they will continue doing so until one side takes enough casualties for the other side to advance. Neither side has infinite resources in this war. Some has more than others. The most significant part of this is whether or not you can take advantage of any opening that comes your way and how exactly you're going to do that. So the current situation in the Kreminna front is that both sides are trying to advance. The Russian forces are trying to reach the river line to create a better fortified position where you don't have to fight these forest battles as well as open fields battles, which they don't like as they are heavy on casualties. And the Ukrainian sides are at the same time trying to reach Kreminna and take control over the city, or at the very least cut the highway between Svatove and Kreminna, which will allow them to get a better position in this fight and allow them to essentially take control over the northern flank of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk for a possible incursion into the Luhansk region and taking control over these two cities, which were significant wins for the Russian army once they took that back in June and July. And that will be all for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all learned something from this, and I hope you all have a great day.